Hey everybody, it's Jake, and welcome back to Niche Site Project 3. This is call number 5 with Ryan Spadafora. And Ryan, how you doing tonight?
I am good, Jake. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well, man. What have you been up to?
Oh, just staying busy. Working now. I would say working three jobs now that the site is starting to get on its feet, and I'm putting a lot of time into that. So
Yeah.
I'm working hard.
All right, that's good. Are you still sort of in good spirits? I mean, relative to this, I know I've been there too, where it's a lot of work when you're sort of burning the midnight oil and doing something and not really seeing a direct return. But I mean, are you still doing all right mentally, I guess, as far as the niche site's concerned at this point?
Yeah, I actually really like doing this stuff. Um, the creative part of it, is fun to me, and so
Yeah.
I get kind of lost in it, and just making new discoveries about how to use the Thrive themes and everything.
Yeah.
It's good. It's actually a lot of fun, and I find myself getting carried away and working late into the night just because I'm going down rabbit holes, and I'm like, well, what if I do this? What if I put this in? What's that look like? Or how can I tweak this thing? So it's good. It's fun.
Good. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thrive itself, honestly, is like a rabbit hole. I mean, it can be because
Mm,
Shane, who I think is the guy that started it or whatever, like he'll send emails, like email updates, and like when they do new features. And I feel like they put out new stuff pretty often, and usually it's pretty cool stuff. And so I'll get those emails, and I have to watch the video, and then I start thinking like, all right, how can I use this? Yeah, Thrive can be. You can sort of get down a rabbit hole with that for sure, but that's cool, man. Well, this call today, just for everybody that's listening in, will be our shortest call that we've done. I'm giving you my personal guarantee on that. No presentation or anything, so I won't be droning on and on about content or anything like that. Because I know I can sort of get off on a tangent, which leads me to another tangent. And before you know it, we've been here for an hour and a half. But tonight we do have some big news. Ryan is officially has officially picked a niche for his site, and if you've been following along with our calls, you know that he had narrowed it down to two, and we had sort of been exploring, and we'd talked a couple of calls ago about going in depth on keyword research and building out a list of keywords, and we did some analysis there. And then we also talked a lot about trusting your gut and kind of just going with something that you really could see yourself not getting tired of and wanting to work on and that sort of thing, and how that plays a factor. And I believe that's important, especially for your first niche website, to do something that you care about. And so without further ado, I'll pitch it over to Ryan. Ryan, you can talk about the niche you decided to go into, and then just talk a little bit about why you made that decision.
cool. All right, everybody, here we go. Da, 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 da. I picked baseball as
There you go.
there you go. And maybe that's not a surprise to some people. I don't know. But there were a few reasons for that, and you definitely touched on them just a moment ago. I Baseball is a huge passion of mine, and it's definitely something that I won't get sick writing about and exploring. And um, so that's a huge thing. Obviously, I could see myself, you know, even if the site happens to, be a slow start, I could see myself keep continuing to work through it just based on the content itself, just liking what I'm writing about. So that was probably the number one reason. The second reason was it just seemed like a bigger market than bowling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the bowling keywords were really low competition, but it was also seemed to be just less interest there on the internet. Baseball seems to have a much larger market,
Yeah.
so um, so I thought that was good, and also a lot of products. There's a lot of baseball products out there. Some of them are, pretty expensive, pretty pretty good ticket prices on some of that stuff. So
Sure.
as far as commissions go and things like that, I just felt like, it's probably a wide open space for that.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. No, I think it's a great decision. And talk a little bit about just at a high level. I know we've brainstormed a little bit about it, and you've been thinking inside of the baseball niche, sort of just the direction that you're headed overall, just some of the categories and things that you plan on talking about. I mean, baseball itself is an enormous topic. I mean, you've obviously got the Major League Baseball and that angle, and I have a site that's about baseball stadiums, and so I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can go. So talk a little bit about your vision and kind of where you see the site headed.
Well, yeah, it's so we're basically, I think the site is going to focus primarily on skill development, and those types of things. So our categories are really going to be the basic categories of baseball itself: hitting, fielding, base running, arm strength, drills, and things like that. So I'm going to try not to venture too far out into general baseball discussion, but keep it kind of focused on, like I said, like skill development and obviously gear reviews and training aid reviews and things like that.
Yep.
For affiliate content, but yeah, we're going to stay in that zone.
Cool. Well, it's awesome, man. And we talked a little bit offline about it, and I think it's a great decision. I mean, it's one of those categories where, of course, baseball is one of the three major sports in the U.S. I mean, so it's a huge market. There's tons of people that play at every level, from kids all the way up to professional. It's big time. So, like you said, overall, bigger market than bowling, and it's one of those things where I think, as you've seen in your keyword research, as you get deeper into it, you just keep finding more and more stuff, and it's one of those topics that you could build a really big site around if you wanted to, for sure. So
Yeah.
I think it's great, man. I'm excited for you. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's my hope, is that to build a really extensive and huge authority site down the line. And yeah, just the keywords, they just kept coming, and they keep coming. So
Yeah.
so that was a good sign for sure, to just keep uncovering those gems.
Yep. And that's another thing too that you found, and we don't really have to like name them in particular, but we talked about in one of our early calls about picking a niche, and I think everybody, Spencer, whatever, they all talked about this to some degree, but trying to find a site that's not a hugely authoritative site, that's doing well in the search engines, it's getting a fair amount of traffic based on SEMrush, which is the tool that we've been using to discover that. And so I know that that's something that you've been using now and looking into that, and I think more and more you found a decent number of sites that fit that criteria. They're doing really well as far as traffic's concerned for the kinds of keywords that we think we're going to be targeting, and so we found some really good keywords that way. But we've also found that it's very, very doable. So I know, at least from my side of things, the more of those that you've found in your research, the more confident I am in your ability to be successful in this, because I always think that that's like the best sign, is when you see some site that's not that great that's performing well, because you think, man, I could totally beat these guys out, and so I think that that's awesome. So I just wanted to say that, so everybody knows. We did do Ryan did most of that, kind of discovering other doppelganger sites, as people might call them, and there are quite a few that sort of help make this decision as well. So I think all signs are definitely pointing in the right direction as far as Ryan's niche selection is concerned. So I'm pretty excited about it. So I was going to move on to just talk a little bit about, for a couple of minutes, just kind of give you some advice on getting started, and then if you have any questions or whatever, let me know. And then, like I said, we'll wrap up here in just a few minutes, and this really will be a short call. So one thing just to tell you, for me, when I first start a site, you get your domain and all that, I just go ahead and kind of make it live once I have my first post ready to go, and I start setting up things like your about page and your contact page and privacy policy, some of those things that you're going to have links to in your navigation menu, maybe in your footer menu, things like that. I go ahead and just build out some of those basics when you set up. And then from there, I start tackling content, but I just go ahead and make it live. I don't get too worried about the fact that it's a pretty empty site, because it lets Google start to index the site and all of that, and just nobody's really going to be seeing it anyway for a while. So I just bust it out there and kind of make tweaks as I go, and don't really worry about it. So don't feel like there's like thousands of people looking at your site, because really nobody's looking at your site. So it's not, if it's not perfect yet, doesn't really matter. You can kind of make changes as you go. But besides that, from the content side of things, I know you've been working on keyword research, and I don't know that there's like a wrong answer to how to start, but here's the way that I like to do it. I don't usually start with my straight up affiliate content. I'm not saying that you can't do it, and I'll do some relatively early on so it can start to rank. But my first post, I like to look through my keywords, and we've talked in maybe our last call about thinking about the purpose behind your content and the different content types you can do. I like to find some keywords that I feel like make for good list type posts. So like content aggregators that we talked about last week, where you pull in ideas from other people, other experts on the topic, and put those together, or just like a big listicle or something like that. I like to do those early on because they're really powerful. Like I find that those tend to rank well because they end up being long, so they have a lot of words. But the other thing is that they're very shareable. And so obviously building quality links to your site is important. And when you're doing long tail keywords, there are times when you don't need any links at all to rank certain things. However, quality relevant links from other baseball bloggers or other, just sites related to sports or baseball will definitely help expedite the process and help raise your authority as time goes by. And so I think, finding some keywords where it's going to be a good idea to pull together a big list of ideas about a certain topic in baseball, so like improving a particular skill, and so you've got 17 ways to become a better hitter or whatever it might be, whatever the keyword is, something like that, where you can pull in other things, because once you publish it out, then you can send out an email to those people that you included in your post. So you included the idea from whoever, some random coach or something like that you found online. Say, hey coach, just want to let you know, thanks for this drill that you put out here. I think it's awesome. Included it on my list here and just wanted to let you know about it. Keep up the good work. Just a real sort of friendly email. So it's a great way to kind of get to know some people. People respond well to that stuff, and a lot of times they'll share it on social media or maybe even put a link to it on their website, that sort of thing. So they sort of appreciate it. But it just kind of gets some goodwill flowing your way. And so I like to bust out at least a couple of those early on, sort of those big lists. And I feel like that gets your momentum going. And then after that, then you can start to mix in some of your really long tail stuff, which will be, maybe just more article based, those sorts of things, and some of your buying guides where you're going to be reviewing equipment or doing best of type posts, just mixing those in as you go. Mm-hmm. But I think that makes for a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, I have one question for you. So like this first post that I'm working on, I feel like could, in addition to just reaching out to try and get some backlinks from some of the sources that I'm aggregating, I feel like it could be a decent shareable social thing as well.
Yeah.
Would you create a Facebook page right away, let's say, and as soon as that post is up, start getting it out there, or the site's relatively empty, so is that detrimental to do it right away? Or
I don't think it's detrimental. Some people because you're going to be sending people a link to the post itself, not like your homepage. And so, most people will just go to the page that you send them to, and they'll be like, oh, wow, this is really good. And then they'll share it or link to it or whatever. And they won't really take time to notice that your site doesn't have a whole lot on it yet. So I think you're fine. Setting up your own Facebook page and stuff is totally fine. Not a bad idea at all. it's not going to like make or break it. But absolutely, you can like do, and I would suggest doing this, do additional outreach to people, not just the people that you included in the list, like you said, but also just other interested parties. So there are other things you can do, like for instance, and this may even be worth it because you can do like a 30-day free trial of Moz. And Moz has a tool called Open Site Explorer, where that's where you see the page and domain authority and all that stuff. But inside of that, they also will show you links to certain pages. And so what you can do, and Brian Dean talks about this sometimes in what he calls like the skyscraper technique. But basically the idea is what you could do is whatever keyword that you're targeting with this first list, go and look at some of the things that are ranked in the top few results in Google and put them into that Open Site Explorer, and it'll show you everybody that's linking to that page. And then you can go to that site who's already linking to the resource that you're about to build something better than and say, hey, you know, saw you mention that this post about this, just wanted you to know, I just put this out and just thought you might be interested in it, and just send it to them and see what happens. And a lot of times people will add you to, if it's a list of things or whatever it is, or they might put you in place of that other link, but you definitely know you have somebody who's already interested in the kind of stuff you're putting out there. So it's sort of like a hot lead as far as getting a link is concerned. There's a couple ways you can go about it. And you can also do just cold outreach, just go find lists of baseball blogs that are out there and things like that, and just go find their contact page, find their email address, and just send them an email, and just, real friendly, real short and sweet, and try to make a connection there. So no, definitely that's something that we should look at doing once you get there. But I think that's, it's something that I try to really put a lot of my effort into content, because outreach can take a fair amount of time if you do that. You know what I mean? Like if you really start digging around. So I do like to get I don't know what the number is, maybe 5 to 10 pieces of content up before I start really spending time doing outreach beyond just hitting up the people that I included in my post. That way I don't know. I just feel like when you fill the site out a little bit, to me it seems like you have a little bit better success. And so I just get to a nice point there where I can go ahead and do some outreach and sort of take a little break and do outreach, and then come back and hit the content hard again.
Cool.
Yeah, but I mean, does that make sense? Everything?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, so I'm excited with where you're at, man. Like I said, we've talked a little bit offline and via email, and I get kind of pumped up for you. I was telling Spencer today or yesterday, sometime when I talked to him, I was like, man, I gotta back off a little bit, because I get looking at this stuff and I get so excited for Ryan, because I can just see it, when I get into it, and I got to remind myself, hey, this isn't your site, this is Ryan's site. So I don't want to overwhelm you with ideas, but I get pumped up, man, about ideas, and I like baseball too, so it's kind of a double whammy. But no, I'm thrilled for you, man. I think you're headed in a good direction, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the content that you come up with. And I think that'll probably be our next step. I know you're working on some of your first pieces of content now, and so we'll get in and I'll take a look at those when you're done, and maybe provide some feedback if any is needed, and go from there and start building some things out. So that's pretty much it. Did you have any other questions at this point in the process?
No, not really. I think a lot of the questions that I have are, they're kind of super specific, and they come out of nowhere.
Okay.
And that's when I hit you up with an email. I'm trying to think. No, I think we've hit the broad strokes of it all.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it sounds good. I'll stay in touch, and let me know if you have questions. And like I said, we'll do another check-in call here in maybe a week or so. We'll see how things go with your content. Talk a little. You shared with me kind of what you're hoping to. You're working obviously around a full-time schedule and even doing some second jobs and things like that. But what did you say that your goals were as far as publishing content, finding keywords, that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, my goals are to, post, put a new post up every 1 to 2 days, and maybe grab 5 keywords a day.
Okay.
I can, which I've realized it might be, it's pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it'll get easier as I start to go. Like this first post has taken me a little while just to find my feet in terms of researching it and figuring out how I want to attack it.
Yeah.
But I found that I just start writing, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what I should have done. Just start writing.
Yeah.
And you know, you can always move stuff around and
Right.
after the fact. So, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to do is, you know, I think 100 articles in 6 months is like one every 1.8 days. So
Oh.
I know some of these articles are going to be bigger and might take, you know, 3 days,
Yeah.
but a lot of them I feel like I could kick out, you know, pretty easily
Yeah.
ending. So
Cool.
I'm really trying to take my time on these first few and get them right and get some high value stuff up there. So
No, I think that's a great idea, man. You don't want to skimp on the stuff, especially at the beginning, and stuff that you feel like are going to be good keywords for you and like important keywords for you. You really want to. I'm just going to say it. Hit a home run with that stuff. I couldn't help myself. Yeah, I mean, you know, take the extra time, do those right, because if you do them right, the chances are is that you're going to rank for those for years to come. So
Right.
it's totally worth it. Like it will pay you back in time. And doing 100 articles in 6 months, I mean, you know, we'll see how that goes. Like definitely you don't have to have 100 articles to have a site that's making a good amount of money by any stretch. I mean, it's an admirable goal for sure. But I think, you know, if it were me, I would spend the extra time on the high value stuff and kind of what I was saying a moment ago and be more concerned about depth and quality than I would be getting too swept up in the quantity. You know, don't let that hanging over your head, because that's just sort of an arbitrary number,
Right.
cause you to sacrifice the quality of what you're doing today. It's like, oh crap, I gotta meet this number. It's more important to have good stuff that's going to last for a long time. So, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely be doing really, really well with 30, 40, 50 posts on the site. I mean, I've seen that myself, and so don't get too hung up on that number. But yeah, I mean, because you can go for a very long time with baseball, like we talked about. So there's plenty of time to grow it out. Just make sure that you're doing high quality work up front.
Sure. One question that just popped up into my head. What do you think about the seasonal aspect of this niche? Now, I was kind of paying attention to that when I was studying the competition.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem to me to be all that seasonal. It actually seemed like a relatively steady stream. But what's your thoughts on that?
I think it'll have some effect. I mean, my baseball site is about attending baseball games, and it is super seasonal because
Right.
nobody goes to baseball games in the winter. You know, this is different, I think, because, you know, as a ball player, plenty of guys play fall ball, winter ball workouts. I mean, for guys that play, it's a year-round sport.
Yeah.
And guys are working out in the winter and doing indoor stuff to get ready for summer. And so I think it will. I mean, I think nicer weather times of the year, more typical baseball season will be higher time, but I don't think it's going to just fall off a cliff in the winter.
Right.
I think it'll have, you know, I still think you'll get a decent amount of stuff. And so, and honestly, that might be, you know, with seasonal sites I've done in other niches, I mean, that could be a way to think about it when you're thinking about keywords and stuff, is there might be some things in there when you think about the things that you did in the winter as a ball player, that might open up a new set of keywords that you could go into to sort of balance that out, you know, be it weightlifting stuff, stretching, indoor practice ideas, stuff like that. You might
Right.
find some solid ideas there that could kind of carry you through the winter.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So yeah, but that's a good question. But no, I think it'll be fine. Either way, you're stuck now, man. That's what you're doing. So
I know. Wait. Let's delete this call. But I gotta go.
no. I mean, even if it is some degree of seasonal, I think that it could be plenty successful enough that during the whatever it would be 8 or 9 months of season that it will more than make up for those 3 months where it might be a little bit down. So I think you're good.
Yeah. I agree. I hope.
Cool, man. Any other questions?
No, I think I'm good now.
All right, man. Well, just keep in touch. I'll talk to you soon. We'll do another check-in here in a week or two, and hopefully you'll be making some progress and have some content live, and we can talk a little bit about where we're at.
Sounds good.
All right, Ryan. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back in a week or so.